workshop, would it be more?
Definitely, sure.
I apologize about that.
And the next issue I bring up, I don't take lightly. Took a lot of research and everything into it. Adjournment Commission workshop on August 23rd, 2023. Administrator Lee Abbott requested that he be given permission, or that we do a consensus on whether or not he could hire somebody temporary to fill a position in the city administration's office. He cited a section in the policies, but that is just an employee classification. That is not a permit to hire an employee. It classifies the employee on what they are. It's not a permission to hire. The permission to hire came out in January 14, 2021, when he came up before the commission and wanted to hire some temporary employees to help get the files and everything straightened out. And Commissioner Rick Basso passed a motion that says to let our current administrator hire the help he needs, if that's 2 people at $14 per hour for 30 hours a week on a temporary basis. Following which, Mr. Evans asked, are you giving me authority to hire and fire so I can start tomorrow? In which Rick Basso and Commissioner Connell said yes. Our attorney, Scott Simpson, and the administrator and commissioners all were making comments about part-time employees have no benefits and are temporary employees. And yet, after the August 23rd meeting, he hired Roxanne at $70,000 a year with full benefits as a temporary employee. That's in violation of everything that I can think of. Your final days were left with you walking on eggshells. Because of your violation again, I make a motion that we terminate your employment with the City of Lake Helen tonight, and that you be escorted out, all your passwords and keys be turned over to our PD or attorney.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Hearing none, the motion dies.
That shows how much somebody's work can be trusted.
Okay.
I have questions for our city attorney in reference to Commissioner Eckert's comments tonight. I don't want to move forward with any motions before I have all of the information from our legal counsel.
Cool. What's your question?
Can you please clarify the statements that were made in reference to the personnel code and how it is in violation of that?
I would have to review the entire personnel code. I don't have the information that Roger was looking at. There's one provision that talks about temporary employee that says an employee filling a temporary position for a special project or other work of a temporary nature that will not exist beyond 6 consecutive calendar months and is not renewable. On approval of the City Commission, the temporary appointee may exceed 6 months when needed to replace or supplement employees. So, I don't, it's page 3 and 34, I don't know what section of it is. So there there is a provision in our code that allows for the hiring of temporary employees up to 6 months, with also the limitation that it's either a position, a temporary position, for either a special project or other work of a temporary nature. So that's what a provision in the our personnel policy. I don't know if there's other provisions that do our personnel policy to see what they say, but so and any employee who is going to be a permanent employee has to be approved by this commission. This provision obviously gives the administrator the ability to hire temporary employees, but the temporary employees are limited to that language about temporary positions or work of a specified nature or special projects or other work of a temporary nature. So that was kind of the limiting factor on hiring a temporary employee. And that overall, that length of duration can only be for 6 months. Anything beyond 6 months would have to come back to this commission for approval.
Okay, that provision does not say anything about the city administrator being able to hire somebody for 6 months. It's still based on that, your analogy of that not being a definition of employees' classifications, but being an authorization, would still fall back on the commission to do the hiring. But if you go back to the January 14, 2021 motion that was made, that gives them permission to hire temporary employees at $14 an hour, which I would even give the benefit of going to $15 an hour minimum, since that's our minimum wage, but no benefits.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what you're referring to. I don't know. I'm not saying you're going to tell the truth. I just haven't reviewed whatever it is you looked at. I just say this provision says temporary employees can be hired, but if they're going to be temporary beyond 6 months, it takes commission approval. Under 6 months, then that begs the question, what about under 6 months? Is that administrator approval? Because beyond 6 months takes commission approval. So was this intended to be a delegation to the administrator to hire a temporary employee under those limitations up to 6 months without commission approval, but then it goes to the commission for approval and obviously the permanent position has to be there. This only covers a temporary position, not permanent.
All three?
And I wasn't there at the August 23rd discussion this year. All three.
I'd be happy to make a motion right now to hire Roxanne Whitman as a full-time employee.
Have a motion to hire Roxanne Whitman as a full-time employee. Is that a second? Have a second? We have any discussion? I'd like to say, I think she is a wonderful addition to the city, and I was going to make the motion no matter what I had to do to make it. So I appreciate y'all doing that. I believe she, like I said, is a wonderful addition. I think she should be hired at that $70,000, which was already negotiated and is acceptable. We probably should know that it's a full-time position, and we have a title for the position. What is your title? Supreme Omnipotent Potentate? Yeah. That's my favorite title.
Dominique carried a number of titles. Picked on city clerk, deputy city clerk, director of administration, HR director.
I think deputy city clerk works pretty well.
That's fine.
I was finished with my discussion. Go ahead.
I know a lot of people have a lot of accolades for Roxanne and everything, and I think she's great at what she does. I just don't feel she has the experience and knowledge for the position that she's taking on. She's got a lot of educational background behind her, a lot of working at a store as a coordinator, a section coordinator. But after looking at her application, my elementary school son could have done a better job on the application of Roxanne. There is a lot of information that references to her resume, which the information on her resume is missing information. There's a lot of documentation that has not been done on her resume or her application. So I don't feel like she meets the qualifications for the amount of pay that has been proposed for the position.
Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have Commissioner Eckert voting no, the other 4 commissioners voting yes. Motion carried. I'm sorry, I didn't. Always feel free to clarify. What is your vote?
I'm voting no only because I appreciate this commitment considerably. I would like to see how she feels in a couple of months. That was kind of the understanding I had at the last meeting. I want to make sure that this is a comfortable position for her and that we feel comfortable at the end of her in a couple of months.
I'm assuming, yes, that there will be a normal probation period that she's in the process of now. So yes, you're right. And it is an at-will position. I mean, she's not going. She's a free person. She can walk away. Probationary period. Okay.
It's hard to hear you guys out there. I can hear you.
So the probationary period began when she was hired full time.
I would say.
I think that makes sense, yes. What's that?
The probation period would start today. If she was a temporary employee before.
We could do that either way, couldn't we? Or, I mean, we could be...
Well, if she was hired under this provision, the intent was to be a temporary employee.
There would be.
And now she's going to a permanent position. And I don't have the personnel policies in front of me, but I would think the probationary period would start when someone starts a permanent position with the city. Would be my guess. I mean, I could look into it, but I don't have the personnel policies here.
Well, assuming that's the case, does that change anybody's vote or consideration of this? Okay. Before Ms. Good, we have Ms. Donato, the floor is yours.
First of all, I want to talk about qualification as well. I have nothing against Roxanne at all. However, I too have looked at the application. I've looked at LinkedIn. I've gone out on Facebook. There's all different kinds of information that doesn't link together. But let's get to the application, which every employee with the city has to complete. In her qualifications, she states in writing that she has 20+ years in operations and she has 20+ years in human resources. That's quite a feat. I'm 74 years old. I got 45 years, and operations is a different beast than a human resource position. That particular section of the application states that that's where the applicant is to provide their transcripts and any other certifications that qualify them for the position that they are applying for. Nobody has looked at the applications. In addition to that, there was no job postings whatsoever to give anybody else in the community or outside the community an opportunity to fulfill this job. That's wrong on every level. It's just not right. We're discriminating against other employees who may have the real skills to come here and be a city clerk. I mean, my understanding, you need to be certified in something to be a city clerk. How can you really come in 2 weeks after someone has temporary employee? Has background checks been done? I requested from the CA that transcripts be provided in a sealed envelope from every college that she states that she's got her master's degree. That's normal practice. And if she's got any certifications, provide those. If she's qualified, hire her. But $70,000 a year, $53,000 is the top dollar for someone with experience, and she just started on the learning curve. I mean, we know nothing about the employees that you people are hiring, and you're literally, I'm not saying in her case, but when you hire someone without looking at their backgrounds and without checking on their educational background, you're placing the city at risk. And I could cite all kinds of cases where cities have been sued, corporations have been sued because nothing, the applicant or the candidate was not hired without background checks.
Thank you, Ms. Donato. I have 2 more blue cards. Paulette Smith.
Hello, my name is Paulette Smith, 840 West Lighter Road. Okay, for one thing, y'all made a decision to hire Roxanne. Okay, you've hired her permanent. So, we need to move on from there. What we can't do is, because we want to get rid of Lee, take it out on Roxanne. She don't have anything to do with that. Whatever's going on, y'all need to move past that and take up what you got to take up with Lee. You know, man up, put on your big girls and big guys underwear, and this is what you got to do. Don't take it out on Roxanne. She don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I'm not taking it out on Roxanne. The reason why I voted no is I don't think she's qualified for it. She has no experience
Okay.
in the position.
Okay, you said she has no experience. I understand that. Okay. When you hired her, Lee said she holds a lot of different hats. Okay, I know Donna Lee was put on the spot being an HR person in a meeting. She didn't even know she was an HR person. Okay? So it's things that we do here in the city that's not right. From the front door to the back door. And we can't just make a decision when it's good for us. You know, we gotta have stuff in writing and follow our own directions. Lead by example. Everybody. Don't bring things up that we're not willing to change. And I've said that more than once. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Next blue card is Colonel Burke.
Bernie Burke, 690 West Ohio. I think this is the kind of thing that our city commission and our city is probably tired of. There are people who are, there are people who can use language to create problems as opposed to solutions. There is someone here who has probably got more qualifications than we can even get to know. when I was on the planning board and I ran for city commissioner, one of the doors that I knocked on was Roxanne's door. And when I asked her, what did she do? She said she was strategic planner. I told her, well, if I get elected, then there's a seat open on the planning board. She's on that planning board for 12 years. I think a lot of things that have happened in the city over those 12 years that she was on the planning board, I think it can bode well to be able to give that experience some regard. And Roger, you said that there was no qualification that she has for this job. What qualifications did Dominique have when she had this job? And I'm not asking this as a retort, I'm just throwing it out there as a rhetorical question. I think we're in a place now that this city really needs to get on one accord. We don't need the optics to be what people are judging us by, but by the character of the person that we hire. I think we can do a lot more to try and bring this city together than to be able to figure out ways that we can point fingers and make things even worse. One of the things that I've seen as long as I've been in the city and this community, is there's a lot of things that does not seem to bode well for a certain part of this community. And we seem to not to be able to give an equal share when it comes time to make decisions that will equally affect our community. There's community here who support Roxanne. There was community here that supported me. 60% of the vote that cast voted for me. There was a 15, maybe a third of the vote didn't even, third of the community was the only ones that voted. But the way this city works, the way our governments work, we voted in, I was voted in. I did not agree with the fact that I should take this position on tonight, because just what we've seen in this commission meeting throughout this evening, we've seen there's so many parts of this commission that no one person in snapping the finger is going to get it all. So I'm just thinking that we really need to take a step back and look at this position as well as what the city is going to have to contend with. I think we got a better shot here than we have a negative opportunity. And I think every one of you have, I respect each one of you. I've worked with, I've served with both Karen and Rick. So I really think that the city is owed a better example of this. I mean, I thank Heather for making the point that we need to show stability. And that's one of the things that I think that we are missing, and we can do better.
Thank you very much. So we've had the vote that has carried, but for clarification, Heather, did you want to state what you were for or against?
I just wanted to say I'm against it. I want to give us time to get acclimated to Ms. Goodman and also to do our due diligence. I didn't include that before, I apologize. And also, respectfully, Commissioner Eckert, I don't appreciate the comments that are made against our employees. I thought it was off-top and inappropriate and unprofessional, especially since Roxanne is representing our city so professionally, in the meantime, temporary or permanently.
Sticking with the agenda, Zone 3, do you have anything to report?
I think it's done less than
So, me, as my report, I do agree with Commissioner Rutledge about stability. The idea of some rules, that is something a commission can do, is adopt rules of apportionment, or you can call it anything you want, but the commission can adopt rules like that. It's a common practice. I'm sure a little bit of Google searching we could come up with some that would be that would be helpful. So I'm all in favor of that. Probably a good time to do that. Now would be a good time to start working towards it. But when the new commission comes online, would be a good time to adopt those rules of whatever you want to call them, whatever they would be called. I think that's a great idea. The seasonal decorations fund, I think, is a good idea as well. We have the fireworks fund that we've always had, kind of as a, just a good way to raise money for something for the city like that. I think a seasonal decorations fund / collection bin, whatever we call it, would be a good thing to have. And I think the city would be well served with that. It's a good idea. And as far as consensus on Arbor Day, I think you did a great job last Arbor Day, and working with, is it Tree Work now? Or, they were very good, very supportive. They did a lot for us. I would certainly be in favor of that. Is there anybody on the commission who would not be in favor of a future Arbor Day stuff and letting Commissioner Rutledge go forward with her work there?
I think we need to look around, so just look around and see what's offered by other governmental agencies. Because there's some governmental agencies out there that will give you the trees for free.
Okay.
They may not be 6 foot tall.
Well, that's open. So with that discussion, you know, kind of with the will of, or the thought of the commission.
And to rebut that just a bit, it is funded by sponsors, so it is at no cost to the citizens through taxpayer dollars.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Thank you. To the election and charter review, I think that's another, I'm going to punt on that one. This is one's everyone's opinion, but I'm going to punt on that to the next commission. If they want to start a charter review process, there'll be ample time to complete that prior to the next election cycle. I agree. Charter needs review. I was much chagrined that the last thing didn't pass. I think there are additional ways for the charter to be amended. Certainly, we can, without going through the entire appointment of a charter review committee and all that, we can just write something up ourselves and put it on the ballot. That's very doable. You might want to consider that again. I'm going to punt that to the next commission. I will turn it over now to the city administrator.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, you have, sir, still here?
Yes, he is.
Oh, you want to do your report?
Yeah, you want to do your public works report?
And as he's walking up, Chief Mullins is ill tonight, so you have his written report.
Oh, I'm good. I don't need that. I speak loud enough. Just a quick thing, you got my monthly operating report we do all the time. We're meeting with the county engineer, our engineer, and a local contractor on McKinsey to try to get this thing, some things resolved on to get the pipes fixed. We did put road plates down before the prior hurricane out there. You'll see them on McKinsey because the road was starting to collapse in. We didn't want anybody to get hurt, but the traffic will go into it. I will probably be coming back hopefully next month with 2 or 3 pieces of equipment I need to replace, and also to ask to start hiring somebody for the one replacement and ask for money for 2 more employees. I think that's probably enough for you guys tonight. But you have anything for me?
Are there any questions from the commission?
Just want to say thanks for stabilizing the ship.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further?
Nothing.
Okay.
I have a question for the city administrator.
Wait, don't go too far.
Oh, city administrator.
Oh.
Mr. Mullins, thank you.
You don't go anywhere.
Mr. City Administrator, could you please give us an update on Melissa Park briefly?
Melissa.
We have received, actually the contractor has received all of the necessary parts to it. We've cleared out the area and removed some palm trees, which are done, and the work is progressing. It's going to be, still probably going to be a couple of weeks before it's completed, but it's well on the way.
They got the level where the playground is leveled out. It's about six or 8 inches higher than the front sidewalk. That leaves a slopey area there for him.
And now that you brought it up, we did discuss on the staff level, perhaps the commission wants to plan a ribbon cutting park in the city. It's going to be beautiful addition to the park. If you want to think of planning things in the future, that might be an
Thank you. And also, I know we touched on it just briefly, but could you provide us an update with the roof for City Hall, please?
The roof of the City Hall is about less than a week away. They've had some rain, but it's essentially completed except for some metal roofing. It'll go on. Once that's completed, as the mayor indicated much earlier in the evening, we're going to have the second floor dry out. We'll have it demolded, that's another word, and then we're going to test it for mold after that, and if it tests positive, meaning there is no mold, we're going to be able to move back in. I don't know if it'll be in October, but we certainly should be there by the organization meeting in November.
Thank you.
Anything further from anybody? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.